Okay, great. So welcome everyone again to our QuickBooks Pains versus Dynamics GP gains. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Caroline Vargas. I'm your account manager here. And we have Sherry Ibbotson. She is our consultant here at MIG. For audio controls, you can choose mic and speakers from your computer, or there's an option also to dial by telephone using the information provided at the bottom. Questions. To submit your questions, you can go through questions and comments. You can go through the VIA and the question panel, and we will also have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Okay, great. So we'll go over the agenda. So about us, signs that your business might be outgrowing QuickBooks, reasons why Dynamics GP is the best alternative to QuickBooks, Dynamics GP, then we'll have a live demo, and as I mentioned, we'll have our Q&A session at the end. Okay, so about us, MIG, we are the experts in the implementation and support of leading financial and business applications from Microsoft. Our solutions are Microsoft Dynamics GP, Microsoft Dynamics SL, and Microsoft Dynamics CRM. We have been in business since 1998, and we assist organizations streamline their business processes and maximize their productivity. Our certifications. We are a Microsoft Gold certified partner, and we are recognized by the Microsoft Business Solutions as a premier ERP VAR. And for those who are taking a view in this presentation to get your CP credits, please let us know, and we will be happy to assist you with that. Great. QuickBooks Pains versus Dynamics GP game, so I'll just leave it to Sherry. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Sherry Ibbotson, and we're going to be discussing the QuickBooks Pains versus the Dynamics GP gains. We'll be joined by our sales manager, and he will be discussing some of the these features as well. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. 7 signs that your business may be outgrowing QuickBooks. We have these listed here. Limited reporting capabilities, or give you the visibility and insight you need to run your business, and that might represent the inability to have multiple segments on your chart of accounts, so you can't run divisional profit and loss statements and what have you. Multiple departments or lines of business, that's along the same line. So not being able to run P&L reports by cost cost centers, that makes it very difficult for you to determine what the sales in New York are versus the sales in North Carolina or the sales in California. You also find yourself unable to confidently and consistently comply with the regulations for monitoring and securing your financial data. What this is referring to is audit trail codes and the protection of the journal entries that are contained within your ERP application. In QuickBooks, it is known that an individual would have the ability to override the entries that are entered in the QuickBooks system, thus skewing the financial statements when they're compared to the actual true transaction data. That's one of the other signs that you're outgrowing QuickBooks. Also, if you experience frustrating and unacceptable delays in the menus, reports, or navigation, we're aware that with the online version of QuickBooks, that recent release, that a number of companies have experienced outages and downtime, and occasionally that it takes quite a while for the menus to open, and the more users that you have in the online system, the more trouble that you have. And so also when you're running the QuickBooks internally on your on-premise systems, you can have issues with multiple users running from the same database as well. And you know, another item we've noted is if you've had to sacrifice transaction history or master records to improve system performance, and that's referring to the size of the database. And so the size of your QuickBooks database, is what they call it, once it exceeds a certain size, you'll start to see performance issues that are quite severe. And also that's going to affect if you need to have more than, let's say, 5 users on the system, or even up to 5 users, you're going to see performance issues. And once again, if you're concerned about the lack of security and compliance features, as we discussed earlier, that would be related to the ability to circumvent the transactions inside of the QuickBooks system that have already been posted. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Darren, and he's going to discuss a few of the other reasons to move to a GP as opposed to staying on QuickBooks.
Well, thanks, Sherry, for that intro. Yep, I'll take over from here. So the reasons why Dynamics GP is the best alternative to QuickBooks, it's not only a better alternative, but it's the best because there is, first of all, users that use QuickBooks, they are able to migrate to Dynamics GP with, you know, less effort than some other applications. There are similar features, but Dynamics GP is basically excels in certain functionality where QuickBooks definitely lacks. So we do have more features. The next slide will show you all of the different modules that we have. So we are not just an accounting software, but we do have built-in like fixed assets management and purchasing and inventory, a very modern chart of accounts. So as Sherry mentioned, we can slice and dice the data in many different ways using Microsoft Office, familiar technologies such as Excel. The better financial reporting, we do have web-based reporting capabilities where you can disseminate the financial reports to an unlimited number of users to consume those reports and to also design those reports. So you don't need to really open the QuickBooks application to get into the financial reporting engine. In fact, you don't need to do that at all for any of the users in the company. So you're pushing information to the extended company without them basically having access to the financial accounting information. So we do have being a Microsoft product, we do have a very tight integration with the Office, Outlook, Word, and Excel. And then the user interface, once you see Sherry's demo, you'll notice that it's going to be familiar to you because it's going to look like Outlook basically. So it's very easy to migrate to the Dynamics solution. And then also we do have, obviously performance-wise, we have clients that interface millions of records on a daily basis, hundreds of users accessing the database. There are really no issues on performance or whatsoever. It's a very modern backend. Next slide, please. Here are the core modules, which this core system comes with basically the main modules that you're seeing there, plus 3 concurrent users. It's built into the system. So everything flows into General Ledger, and you do not need to do anything extra to actually interface the different, the integrated nature of the system makes it possible so that you start with just payables management, which already integrates with GL, do bank rec, and then you can add the modules, right? purchase order processing, inventory, fixed assets. You may have heard about modular design. Well, Dynamics GP has been on that forefront for the last 20 years. So it's a very mature application, has lots of functionality, and the brand new cloud-based applications they're still catching up, and they have a long way to go. Because the reason why, because financial accounting packages cannot be created overnight. It takes a long time to mature. All the issues are fixed, and then whoever comes to the market first obviously has the edge. So let's go to the next slide, Agustina. Here's the functionality listing out of the box. You'll notice a lot of modules here, starting from financial management, Excel-based budgeting, contract recurring revenue administration, fixed assets management, intercompany. Unlike some other applications, Dynamics GP, you can set up an unlimited number of companies or entities into the system, and there is no charge per entity. Multi-currency management, very robust. Revenue expense deferrals, electronic bank reconciliation, EFT, ACH for payable, receivable, lockbox processing, all that functionality is built in. And then on top of that, we have field level security and role-based security, which ensures that the data is audited all the time, and you know exactly who is doing what within the system. We do provide multilingual packages. Obviously English is one of them, but then we have Spanish and French. It's mostly America's package, so we have all the value-added taxes and the different rules that apply to the different countries. So from a business intelligence reporting, we do have, again, as we said, the financial reporting designer and viewer users. We have an unlimited number of those. You can create pivot tables. There is an Excel report designer. So you can create reports directly from the data that you're seeing on the screen into an Excel spreadsheet, refreshable. So you can send it to anyone within the company, and as long as you've been given access or security rights, they'll have real-time refreshable access to that data. So they no longer need to call you, ask you what's going on with this purchase, or is the vendor paid, or what's the status of this receivable. There are also web-based reports on demand or pushed, and then we also have integration to Power BI. You may have been hearing about that, but it's a very powerful tool to mine the data. Human resource management is fully built in, comes basically no additional fee. You can set up HR and payroll within the system with direct deposit. And then filing of W-2s and 1099s, however, all that is built in, and obviously ACA, Affordable Care Act reporting, also 1095C, 1094C. Supply chain management, that counts with the, for organizations that need distribution, inventory, bill of materials, purchasing, requisitions, web-based, and then we have a tool set to adapt the solution to any need. We don't see this often because it's such a mature solution. However, for those organizations that need to modify the solution, you have access to the source code. It comes with it, so you can modify it. And then you can integrate to any other CRM applications, Sugar, Salesforce, Dynamics, obviously CRM. Third-party integrations, because the solution has been around for such a long time, we have hundreds of pre-built integrations to cloud-based and commercial off-the-shelf applications. This minimizes the effort of building custom applications to interface versus buying the interface that's out there already. This is a huge pro for Dynamics GP. We do support multi-browser, cross-device. It's a user interface, so it can run on any device, iPad, tablets, and any browser, Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Internet Explorer. Basically, it's an industry standard that all manufacturers use, and we have built our user interface on top of that industry standard. Therefore, You don't need to download any apps to run the application. It runs on any browser. We do have some additional modules such as project management, time and expense entry via web portal, and mobile devices. And the deployment, you have an option. You can go with the cloud version of Dynamic GP or the on-premise, and then you can purchase it one-time fee, or you can subscribe. So those are the options. The next slide for the QuickBooks pane and Dynamic GP pane, where Sherry will also show some of the screenshots and then give you a demo. But here are the main pains and gains that we see. Again, consolidated financials for multiple companies and multiple currencies is very difficult and time-consuming and slow. So with GP you can set up an unlimited number of companies and currencies with powerful one-click singular consolidated financials. QuickBooks doesn't have such a thing as a chart of accounts. They have some classes, but so you cannot really break down the business and slice and dice the business data. And with Dynamic GP you get a 66 alphanumeric character and 10 segments for the account framework. So you can analyze your business, the products that you're selling, servicing, buying, or purchasing in many different ways, which empowers, at the end of the day, the executive team to make decisions, right? So, and then you can also do allocations, variable units, a lot of different tools to look at the data in different ways. QuickBooks allows anyone to delete any data without leaving a trace. We have seen this with some customers where there were well, they had auditing problems obviously because of that. So with GP you get built-in tools, right? So we have a module called audit trails to control who does what, workflow and field level security to control how they do it, and posting permissions to control when data is persisted, or when the data basically, once you click on the post button, you know, at that point the data will go into the SQL database. And obviously performance, we discussed regarding this with the QuickBooks. Larger data means slower performance, and some clients actually archive data or have multiple QuickBooks installations, not only from a company perspective but also from performance. So and Dynamic GP does not have that issue. You can throw a billion transactions at it if you wish. And yeah, we do see this a lot, QuickBooks interfacing with third-party operational systems or cloud-based solutions. Let's say you have Expensify as your expense management solution or some other solution, right? Well, although QuickBooks does come in with some add-ins to interface, still when the volume of transactions increases, well, you're going to have to either split the data or wait for the data to be imported. So NGP doesn't have that issue. Next slide, please, Agustin. QuickBooks also must be switched to single user mode for most data import activities, and with Dynamic GP you don't have that issue. It can be on 24/7, everybody can access, query information without, you know, really switching to single user mode. And the QuickBooks actually, the one thing that we have noticed also does not integrate that well with on-premise and online front office and back office business processes. And with Dynamic GP, again, we do have a full suite of office productivity suites solutions that we integrate with different CRM vendors. We have a full process that you can workflow enable, opportunity to code to cache automation, and has a very powerful built-in interface designer to connect to any operational or financial system with minimal effort. So we have a, like, what we call a visual mapping integrator. So you can take any data from any source and import it into Dynamic GP, validating the data, and then it will even let you know if that data is properly formatted or not, and then give you an exception log so that then you can take action. Okay. Sherry, you want to do this?
Sure. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. I need to take control. I'm going to show my screen and monitor 2. Oops, sorry, a moment. Okay, so we have the chart of accounts slide. Let's talk a little bit about the chart of accounts and the Dynamics GP application. With the Dynamics application, you can create up to 10 segments and a total of 66 characters. They can be alpha or numeric or a combination of both. On the slide here, I have an example of a chart of accounts that one company created. They're using a segment 1 for their division. Segment 2 is the natural account code, and segment 3 is the department. I've created a little example here that I want to show, and this shows you where I've broken this particular chart of accounts out into 4 segments. I have location 1 and location 2, and I've broken down the divisions east, west, north, and south, and the different cost centers for sales, IT services. And with this type of configuration with your chart of accounts, this is going to allow you to produce financial statements, P&L reports for every one of these different divisions or locations. And here's an example of that same chart of accounts, resorted. And you'll see this when we go ahead and look at the financial reporting application, that the one-click financial reporting application. But see here, like we have east and north, south, and what have you. So I'll be able to show you a little bit more about that. So let's go ahead and let's look at the next slide here. So we have the capability of performing one-click import. And what that means is that you have a chart of, or you have a spreadsheet that contains your journal entry lines on it. And here I have an example of just a demo journal entry adjustment. And by copying this, you can actually paste this directly into the transaction entry window using the paste button. And so that's a nice feature. A lot of companies find that quite useful if you're creating your depreciation entries. Plus, in this window, you can copy existing journal entries and create new ones. Just go ahead. So let's talk a little bit about the one-click financial reporting. I had mentioned about creating a chart of accounts that's segmented. Here's an example of the one-click financial reporting tool utilizing the segmentation, example of the segmentation we created. So you can see down on the left side, I have a picture of the reporting tree definition. And with this reporting tree definition, you'd be able to click on any one of those folders or any one of those cost centers, and the system will generate a P&L report. You can export all of these reports in one package to Excel, and it'll create a tab for every financial or every P&L that's listed here on the reporting tree. And on the right, I have an example of a departmental income statement so that you can see the breadth of the financial reporting tool and the way that it displays. We can put percentages. Using base row, we can determine the percentage of the gross margin, and we have breaking down the operating expenses. And this is more of a summary level. We can produce detail level. I'm going to be showing you an example of that shortly. So let's look at this. We have these real-time dashboards, and these use the Power BI, or this particular dashboard uses what they call Excel Refreshable Reports. And from within the Dynamics application, you can, the system out of the box comes with a set of 200 predefined Excel Refreshable Reports. And what these are, they're dashboards that appear in Excel, and you don't have to be logged into the Dynamics GP application to use these. So if you have the president, the CEO, CIO, they want to know minute by minute the actions that are occurring on the data inside of GP, they can just simply click the refresh button, and all of the information contained in this dashboard will refresh in Excel. Now there is also a what they call a Power BI dashboard. It's very similar to this, and I'm going to be showing you that shortly. And those particular dashboards show up in, you can load them on any Android device. You can view them on a cell phone, your Surface, your Windows phone, anything that's got Windows 8.1 or above. And those are very similar to this. I'm going to show you those shortly. And last, I want to just chat a little bit about the Office integration. Microsoft Dynamics GP is a Microsoft product, which means that it's fully integrated with the Microsoft suite of products, specifically Excel and Microsoft Word, and works with Outlook. You can send emails through the Dynamics application. You can email groups, sales orders, invoices, remittances, you name it. But right out of the box, you are able to export the information straight into Excel. It's already pre-formatted. You can generate letters. You can use Word templates, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to modify them to suit your need. Maybe you only need to add a logo. You can drag a logo right onto the Word document. So these are simple tools that come with the system, and so I'm going to show you a little bit more about how this works. So I'm going to go ahead then and start our live demo of the product. So let me give you one moment here. Okay, so I have up on the screen, I have the Dynamics GP 2015 version. They recently released the GP 2016 version as well, which has a few additional features. But I wanted to show you that I'm able to log into to two different sessions of the GP application at the same time. And where this becomes useful is if you have multiple companies. With the GP application, you can create as many companies as you want. Each one of those companies can have a different GL account formatting. They can have different functional currencies and different displays. They can have different security. So I've logged in to the Fabricam company, which is a sample company. It comes with the Dynamics system, so when your system is installed, you have access to a pre-built company that has data in it. That's a perfect configuration, and you can call on that to train your users or to learn more about a particular feature. And with the Fabricam company, all of the modules are enabled, so maybe there's some modules in the advanced pack, such as a project series that you might want to consider utilizing in the future, so that you'd be able to go into the project series in the Fabricam company and take a look at how it's configured to see if that might work for you. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the home page. When a user is created in the Dynamics application, they have the ability to control their home page, and it's based on their role, and I'm going to show you in a minute what that means. But I'm logged in as the system administrator, and the system administrator for the GP application can see everything and has full control. So let's go ahead and look at what the home page includes. The home page comes with a number of floating menus. You have some menu bars that are up at the top. You'll see transactions, financial, or inquiry. These home pages now include the ability to have these floating menus, and an example of this would be the to-do menu. These are fully customizable by user. A particular user could select different reminders that they want to add that make sense to them, and they can also create business alerts to prompt them when a particular customer is over the credit limit, or a particular vendor has an invoice that is overdue by 2 days or 5 days. So the business alerts allow you to fine-tune down to the customer vendor level. The inventory item level, you can track if a particular inventory item is approaching the reorder point, and so that you can make sure you reorder those items so that you can keep your supply chain flowing. So, and once again, each user has the ability to customize their own reminders. They have full control over that. And here's an example of a reminder. You can click a button to select if you want to see a reminders queue. And what a queue is, it just lists the number of documents in there. So let's go ahead and click this. And when I click this, it brings us to our reminders list. Whoop. And we can go ahead and drill back. Let's see, we have this overdue invoice. If I double click that, it actually brings me, this is for a sales invoice, brings me to the actual document. That's the actual document that was entered in the GP application. So when you're drilling back to a document, it is the document that was entered. It's not a mirror of the document or an example of just with the dollar amount and a little bit of information. This is exactly what the window looked like when the user entered that information. Now here's something interesting. I just wanted to mention the distributions. The Dynamics GP application is a fully fledged accounting application. It uses debits and credits. It's Sarbanes-Oxley compliant. So that means that when you enter a transaction in the GP application, it needs to have a debit and credit, and it contains an audit trail that's not breakable, so a user would not be able to go back and edit the dollar amount on a posted transaction. The system also contains activity tracking, which you can turn on for particular users, and you can watch how those users work. You can determine if a particular user continually changes maintenance records, such as information on a customer. Maybe they change the GL account that it's coded to, or maybe they change the address, which is important to know that information if it's being changed. Now, here's an example. I created this user called Demo, and this user is set up under the accounts payable rule. And let me go ahead and show you an example of this. If I go to customize this page, I can go ahead and change a user's role, and then of course it'll change the role for that user. You can see there's a number of different roles, customer service rep, and that's all it takes. I mean, when you select that, the home page is going to convert to what you want a customer service rep to see. So you don't have to go through a lot of effort to be able to set up just a customer service rep and have them only see customer service rep related information. And so in the context of QuickBooks, where you have these pages that show workflow and different things that's right on the front page, well, with the Dynamics GP application, you can create your user and assign them to a particular role, and that's what they're going to have access to, and that's the only information that they're going to see. So it keeps it very simple. Now, this particular user was assigned to, excuse me, the accounts payable role, and you can see that the GP application is supported for a number of different industry verticals. You have a wholesale and distribution, retail, nonprofit, and the system does come with a specialized chart of accounts for these different industries. So if you're new to using the system and you've never used an ERP system before, maybe you're a brand new company, you can select from a number of predefined chart of accounts that work and will fit your industry. So let's go ahead and just look at what my demo user can see. This person's an accounts payable person, so they like to see the business analyzer. This gives them a chart and a KPI on things that are related specifically to accounts payable. And you can go ahead and you can review this report. This system comes with what they call SQL reporting services. And SQL reporting services are, you can define your own report formats, but this is one of the 5 different reporting tools that come with the system. And so I just wanted to kind of show you how that works. So once again, this individual, they had selected a particular reminder to see accounts payable, the payables that are due, and they see that, oh, I have this Burnett Travel Associates. I want to go ahead and just take a look at that invoice, and I see that that needs to be paid. The system has the capability of creating complex payment terms, by the way. So you can always drill back and look at the payment terms, but there you can set up payment terms to meet any kind of configuration that works best for end of month, 2%, net 10, net 20, net 15. You can have grace periods on end of month payments, or you can select specific day of the month. But this is what the payables transaction entry zoom is, the drill back. So I'm drilling all the way back on this particular voucher number. I can see that it's never been applied to anything, and I can see the actual GL distribution. And if I expand this, I can see the GL account that it's assigned to. This system also does allow you out of the box to use intercompany. So if you wanted to have one company be the corporate company that pays the bills for all of the other companies, you can enter the invoices through the corporate company and have it push the entries to the other companies, so the other companies will show the expenses on the P&L reports. So that's just an example. We drill from that, all from this reminders. Also, there's some quick links that are automatically set up, so user doesn't want to go and look at different menus and try to find the windows that they use most. They can just go ahead and use these quick links, and they can add. They're welcome to add any window. They can add navigation lists. They can add a web page. Maybe there's a certain web page for accounts payable people. A lot of times they'll go up into the the banking information, or maybe they're pulling down entries or data from another site. They can put that web page in here, and you can also add external programs, which means that you can, if you have Excel files that you use, which a lot of companies use for a financial analysis, you can go ahead and add that external file right here to your quick links, so you can do everything from inside of the Dynamics application. And so that's a nice feature here. So here's an example under my quick links for demo user, accounts payable demo user. Maybe they want to go ahead and look at a vendor. They can look at the vendor's setup. They can also create new vendors, but this is an example of the vendor maintenance window that's in here. You can see all of the fields you would expect to see in an accounts payable vendor maintenance window. The system has the ability to classify vendors, and you can see here when I click on that, I don't have the ability to change that. So that's one of the nice features of the security of the Dynamics application, is that you can protect certain maintenance windows. You can protect the entire system from for particular users. You don't want them changing the customers, the vendors, the GL accounts. You don't want them deleting data or deleting pertinent information or changing that information without you knowing. And so you can set up things like special email settings that you want by vendor. It's the same with the customers. And you can set up specific general ledger accounts that you want this particular vendor to use. Maybe they have one or more different general ledger accounts that they use when they post transactions to this vendor maintenance or this particular vendor. So you can list all of the different GL accounts that are used that way. When a user enters an accounts payable transaction, they're only going to see this list of the GL accounts that should be defaulted. They're going to see that list, so they can select from that list. And that is going to ensure that your accounts payable invoices are consistently entered by your users. And the system does have you can create as many address IDs for your vendors and your customers. That's also a nice feature. And of course you have options to set the credit limits, maximum amount of write-off, the 1099s. It's full of, produces 1099s, and for dividend, interest, and miscellaneous types. You can also set some vendors as perhaps they're not 1099. The 1099s are fully, you can edit the 1099s at the transaction level at the end of the year when you go to produce your 1099s. And a lot of companies, I see that have rents, 1099s for rents, they'll need to reduce the rent 1099 by a certain amount, and you can go ahead and change that value inside of a 1099 window, and you could do it at the transaction level. And we had mentioned that the system's fully multi-currency compliant. Out of the box, the system ships with a number of currencies that are already built. So if you're working with any of these particular currencies, all you have to do is enter your rate tables and you're ready to go. You can actually start to generate transactions in those currencies. And for one transaction in GP, you could enter, you could distribute it to different currencies on a single transaction. So I'm going to go ahead and close that window. But that's to give you a general idea about the security, about the way that the home pages work. And so I'm just going to move on to a couple of items here. We had discussed earlier about the chart of accounts, and I think that that's something that I want to show you now. So when you create a chart of accounts in the system, you're able to, let me just pop up back to this one. Here I have created my quick links. This is for me. I'm this SA user, maybe I'm the controller or the CFO or CIO. This is where my quick links are, and so I'm going to go ahead and look at the account format. This is, as you can see, when I click that, I can't change the account format when other users are in the system. So the system's loaded with a lot of checks and balances to ensure that things aren't changing in your system that you're not aware of. This is an example of account format that's for this particular company, Fabricam. And as I mentioned, you could have this be a different company, and it could have a different chart of account design. So let's go ahead and look at this. The system, once again, allows you a maximum length of 66 characters and a maximum of segments of 10. This particular one is set to 45 and 5. Now, those are just maximums. When you build your account format for a particular company, you choose the length that you want for the particular segments. You can put them in any order. And I've named my segments division, account, department. You can name them anything that you want. And I'm going to show you how this is used to produce financial statements instantly across all of the departments and divisions and what have you. And so I'm going to go ahead and click cancel here. Let's go ahead and just quickly look at the financial reporting here. I have, one second. Okay, I see that close that. Okay, so let's go ahead and open it again. Bear with me one moment. One second. Okay. Inside of the Dynamics application on GP 2016, you're able to actually access your financial reports from within the Dynamics application. We have a number of lists here that ship with the program, and you have a list here that will show for the Management Reporter. And the Management Reporter is a tool that's used for generating financial statements. And let me go ahead here and I just open that. One moment. Okay. So here's the Management Reporter financial application, and this Management Reporter allows you to, it ships out of the box with a number of predefined financial statement formats. You can utilize those with your existing chart of accounts, but if you're coming off of QuickBooks, most likely you don't have a true chart of accounts, and we can help you with creating chart of accounts from your descriptions, and then turn that into a segmented chart of accounts. But I've gone ahead and I've run a report here to give you an example of what a segmented chart of accounts can do for you. Right here we have the concept of using a reporting tree. And the reporting tree allows you to take one format and generate reports for all of your departments. So right now we're looking at the consolidated. That would be all of the departments. So here we have sales, travel, salaries. And you can see I have 2_A and 2. These are actually two different companies I've consolidated into one, and I'm going to be able to look at each company individually. This consolidated financial report actually consolidates two companies and all the data. So let's go look at the consolidated financial here. I'm going to look at the TWO. So you can see I click that button and it just switches. Now I'm looking at financials for the TWO_A company. I can just look at a particular administration. Now, with the security and management reporter, if you have certain users that you only want to see their department, you can set the security so that the individual users can only view the management reporter, the financial statements for their particular department. Maybe you don't want them to see the full financial statements in the company. And you can also look at previous reports in here. So if you had reports that you ran, let's say on 3/3/2016, I can look at this. This is the report that I ran today. But you can see the system allows you to, it'll maintain a copy of what the report looked like then and when it was run. This is some advanced logic that's written into this that allows you to do that. But I know a number of users, they'll go to close and they'll say, wait a minute, when we ran this last month, it looked different. Well, it should look different, obviously, because there's a month worth of data, but maybe there's accounts that didn't change and you're wondering what happened. With the GP application, of course, that probably very highly unlikely you would have some type of thing like that occur, but in QuickBooks you would, because somebody could go in there and they could actually change the numbers after you've generated your financial statements, and you'd have no traceability as to what user did that and why. So you can also export these reports directly to Excel. There's a little download here. You click that button and it sends it right out to Excel. And it's formatted just like this right there. So I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to need to move on to some other things here. So let's go ahead and let's look at some of the other features that we had listed as being improvements to using the QuickBooks system as opposed to using the GP system. We talked about the security flaw in QuickBooks, so let's look at the administration. This is the security settings that are in the system. The system has a number of security roles that are built into it. These are come with the system by default. When you assign users to a particular role, they're only going to have access to what you want them to have access to. So here's where the user security is. This is an example, my demo user, that you can see what they have access to here. And you can see that they only have access to the accounts payable clerk role. So I can open that up and I can see specifically the windows that that particular user has access to. So that's a paramount concern. With some other ERP applications, they don't have this level of security. And we benefit from being a Microsoft product because the Active Directory developers, they're the ones who help to build the security mechanisms inside the Dynamics application. And also the system has an activity tracking configuration. So with QuickBooks you would never know who changed the data or even actually what particular users are using or how many times they tried to log in and failed. Here you can select a lot of different configurations for the activity types, access tracking, how many times they've tried to print a report, if they've ever tried to open the modifier tool, which would mean an attempt to open the modifying tool to modify the windows. And so you have the access tracking, file tracking. You can see if they've made additions to master files. That would be customer, vendor records, inventory items. If they deleted any of the master files, if they've made any additions to the transaction files, a modification. So these things you track in the back end, so the administrator is able to do this, and the users have no idea it's there. And some users might find this startling, but to find out that they're being tracked. But you know, a number of ERP systems have these tracking mechanisms, and they're required by the auditing teams. The IT audits require that there's security levels in place to prevent users from inadvertently or inadvertently modifying data. This is to protect the data, ensure that when your financial statements are generated, that data is absolutely true and was not edited. So that's how that works. So let's go ahead and we're kind of getting close to the tail end. I want to really show you this Power BI. We have a number of webinars and demos that we do on all of the different features inside of the application. It takes a little bit longer than an hour to actually go through some of these features, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you something that I really love here, and that's this. I had mentioned that you're able to run these financial performance indicators on your tablet. So I have a Surface, and on my Surface I'm able to run these what they call Power BI performance indicators. And there's a number of these. I just wanted to show you this one in particular, and the user is able to click into these different you can see as I'm clicking, I'm able to actually highlight different areas, and it provides me more information on that. And there's a number of different performance indicators, and you have financial performance, you have revenue and profitability. Here's an example of this one here. So you can see it's if you have a tablet or a cell phone, it's just as easy as clicking one of these and it opens up, and this is the data from your system, and it's real time, it's current, and so this is a wonderful feature, and it's something that comes with the Dynamics application. So that pretty much covers it. Our session's set to end shortly, so I'm going to go ahead and hand the session back to Carolina and Darren, and thank you for reviewing the demo.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, so I'd like to take a few minutes to go over some of the questions. Looks like we have a few. So the first one we have is, how many departments can I set up?
Oh, how many departments? Unlimited. There's an unlimited number of departments, divisions, locations. The segment can hold alphanumeric, so it's unlimited.
Great. Okay. The second one would be, how many companies can I set up?
An unlimited number of companies, and it's really based on the size of your server. I mean, if you, I can easily run QuickBooks on a laptop, and I can set up 25 companies just on my laptop alone. So, you know, if you're using a small server at your office, maybe you're running QuickBooks now, and you have it all on premise. Maybe you just have a small business server. As long as you have enough space, which it doesn't take much, you can run hundreds of companies. But yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
Okay, great, Sherry. And then we have, how does GP run on any device? Does GP run in any device? Sorry.
Yes, there's as I showed with the Power BI, you can run there's reporting the Power BI on Android devices, tablets. You can actually run a GP client on Surface tablet. The application is both on-premise, where you have a local client, and you can run it in the cloud. So by running it in the cloud, then you're able to access that from any device.
Okay.
Macintoshes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the last question we have is, how difficult is to import data from QuickBooks?
Oh, yeah, importing data from QuickBooks. We actually have a number of tools that we use for doing that. They're rapid start tools, and we can take the data from the QuickBooks, or export the data out of QuickBooks and put it into our chart of accounts spreadsheets, or the customer spreadsheet, or vendor spreadsheet, and then we can quickly import that into GP. At the click of a button, so it's not that difficult, and we bring over master record files. That's primarily what what we bring over when we convert over from QuickBooks. And you can bring over the net change summary entry so that you can, right out of the box, you can produce comparative financial statements.
Very good. Thank you, Sherry, again for your time.
Thank you.
We have the next slide, please.
We have a couple of more questions.
Oh, great. Okay, very good.
Panel, can you see them, Caroline?
Yes. Okay, so I just see the question. So the question is how to evaluate currency rates, and should I be enter manually or each invoice? That's one question.
Actually, you can enter the multi-currency rate when you're entering the invoice. You can bring it in from OANDA. You can actually import those. You can import those using an integration manager, and there is a third-party link that you can utilize that will update the exchange rates in the exchange table. So you get 3 exchange tables per currency. Actually, you can enter an unlimited number, but typically there's no more than 3 used buy, sell, and the average rate table.
Okay. You have mentioned previously that transactions cannot be edited. Is that right, Sherry? That's another question.
That's absolutely right. There's an audit trail code that's in the system that's intended for use for auditors, financial CPA auditors, IT auditors, and that the system, you cannot circumvent that audit trail. So a user, if they were to try to attempt to change the nature of an already posted transaction, they would not be able to do that. It would be impossible. The only way that you can alter a transaction in GP is you would literally have to void it, there'd be a record, obviously, if you voided it. You're going to see the original, and you're going to be able to see the user ID that voided it, who did it, when they did it, and that's
okay.
That's a question.
Great. Yeah, I think there's a comment here. Yeah, it looks like, yeah, that was answered. Thank you, Sherry. Perfect. We'll move to the next slide. And I'm just going to go over really quick to MIG support plans. We have support plans available and reliable for basically all our programs running Microsoft Dynamics. The benefits include support with Microsoft Dynamics products, support with any related third add-on parties, fixed rates, and for more information you can contact us at info@mig.com. Let us know. And at the end of the presentation we'll have a survey. This will appear and is designed to help us evaluate and improve our webinars, so please take a few moments to provide us with some feedback. Thank you very much for your time again. Have a great day.